We're here on the evening of October the 3rd to enjoy the artwork of Maya Eventov, who arrived in town today. It's an event that our staff has been working on for weeks, and we're so delighted that she's here. She's an award-winning artist in Canada, and I believe it's to be true that she is the #1 selling artist in Canada. Her canvases go all over the world, and she's been collected by folks such as Laura Bush, Bill and Hillary Clinton, the former Prime Minister of Canada. So she is a notable artist, and so it's our treat to have her here, and I hope that all of our guests enjoy her and the art that she's brought with her. I think what I would like to do, Maya, is just talk a little bit about your personal journey as an artist.
Yes.
And earlier this evening you said something about the Hermitage.
Yes.
And could you describe again what you said about the jewels and how that affected you as a youngster and your painting?
I actually started thinking about it when I heard the question, when one of my customers said that it always reminded them of little jewels, my paintings. And I spent a lot of time with my mom visiting the museums of St. Petersburg, where I grew up. It was Leningrad then. And we spent a lot of time in Hermitage Museum, and it has one of the richest collection of actually a lot of artifacts from the Tsar's time. My favorite thing always was Fabergé eggs. And I think you can see a lot of the colors that I was so fascinated with as a child coming through in my paintings.
I know that many people, when they see your work, they say the jewel tones. They use that term quite often. And I assume that's what you're talking about.
This was my biggest influence as a child, and being surrounded by beautiful art, but also in Russia the art was opulent and rich, and my favorite times in art were the 18th, 19th century. So when you see the colors that was used, even in decor at that time, when you were surrounded with it growing up, and beautiful palaces of Tsars, yes, of course it has an effect on your palette and your color scheme, I think.
I was curious. My understanding of Soviet Russia was that young people were recognized fairly early on for the talents and skills that they were born with, and they were sort of tracked into careers.
Yeah.
I know Nadia Comaneci, some of the gymnasts and that sort of thing. Was that true with you?
Absolutely. I was taking classes since I was 6 years old. Starting in grade 4, I was in art school 3 times a week, where we took art history, we took sculpture. My high school was a special high school affiliated with my university. Every day we had regular school up till 2. I stayed at school till 9 every day, and we had art classes.
And I understand it's one of the really, truly great art schools in Russia, and really probably throughout the world.
It is a great art school, and it's actually set in a former palace of one of the barons. So even the settings were gorgeous where we took our classes.
We're going to depart just briefly and ask you sort of a personal question. I hope you don't mind asking. But can you just briefly describe how your daughters would describe you?
Oh, it's a very interesting question. What you hope they would describe you? I think that they saw me as working all the time, but I don't think it was a negative thing in their upbringing. I think it influenced their work ethic first of all, and my daughter actually was interviewed recently at her workplace, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that she attributes her work ethics to seeing me work so hard. But as I was painting at home, I was at the same time always available to them. So it was a great thing, I think, for them to grow up seeing me work all the time.
I know I described you earlier this evening as a workaholic, and I think you corrected me. Is that?
It's not work. It's so much fun. I cannot call it work. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how it was to be an artist in Russia, and how it is in Canada, and how it affected you and your art?
I think I'm very grateful for my Russian upbringing and Russian education, because the schooling was top-notch. Yes, we were not free to experiment. We were not free to probably explore how we would like to paint necessarily. So we were schooled and being very technical. But right now, I think I had this perfect opportunity to have the schooling in maybe an oppressive society, but where the teachers were really strict in how the things should be done, and being free now to explore how I would like to portray my world, but at the same time, I don't have to think how to build composition. I don't have to think how to create that emotion in color. It's on the tips of my fingers, and I think in a way it freed me up to be who I am. And just to explore my senses now.
And you say you paint from a happy place.
I do. I'm not looking at any pictures, and I'm not even looking at anything when I paint. So everything you see is a place that I imagined, and I imagine a happy escape. I imagine myself there actually when I paint them. So I create places for myself.
Okay. One final question. And something that I think customers sometimes ask, and I know artists struggle with, is what is the distinction in an artist's mind between decorative art and fine art?
To me, it is a very clear distinction. And decorative art, I think is all about trying to please the customer, trying to figure out what kind of a cushion they have on their couch and match that. What would the customer look for in the next trend? Fine art is about expressing yourself, putting your heart and soul in your painting, more about exploring your emotions and putting them on canvas. Yes, it's fantastic when it's reciprocated and people end up buying your work and loving your work, but the first place it is coming from is within you.
You can always tell when a customer comes in and they look at one of your pieces and they say, "I love that." Not only makes the art gallery owner feel good, but it's a huge compliment to you as an artist. And so I just want to thank you, Maya, for being here.
Thank you.
For this interview, and I hope we have a great evening together.
I do too. Thank you very much.
Good.